Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 sucked the life out of me. Hey folks. So a few years ago, before the pandemic, I had a little podcast called the No BS Movie Review. It was a lot of fun because I love movies. And it's fun. I love talking about movies. But when the pandemic hit, a lot of newer movies dried up and kind of left me with nothing to talk about. Not that I don't enjoy talking about older movies, but people like to hear about newer movies. Well, now that Hollywood seems to think everything's over and it's back to business as usual, here in 2023, we're headed into the summer blockbuster season, and it looks like it's going to be a big one. So I thought for my first video, I would do the first movie I enjoyed seeing in the theaters in quite a while, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, written and directed by James Gunn and starring the usual suspects, Chris Pratt, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, Karen Gillan, Zoe Saldana, and a whole host of other guys, including John Mercedes as the guy that Gamora shoots. But seriously, this movie must have been filmed in Polynovision, because by the end of the movie, my allergies were a wreck. That or I have some stellar abandonment issues that I still have to work through with my therapist. Now, when I say this movie sucked the life out of me, I mean I was emotionally drained by the end of this thing. This is James Gunn's last go-around with these characters and his last go-around with Marvel in general. And it shows. He absolutely loves these characters, and he made us love these characters. Everybody has their moment in the spotlight, and it reaches a very satisfying conclusion. Now, I'm going to try to do this review without spoilers, but it's going to be difficult. So if I slip up, this is your warning. This time around, Quill and company face off against a guy called the High Evolutionary, this sort of Frankensteinian mad scientist whose power is only matched by his hubris. That sounds like I rehearsed that, didn't it? Again, it's really hard to get too deep into this movie without spoilers. But one of the Guardians is linked directly to the High Evolutionary. And when I say everyone in this movie gets their moment to shine, there's one scene towards the end in this kind of a hallway fight. It's something else. Now, as much as I love this movie, there are a few things that I wasn't really happy about or ask myself, why did they even bother? If you've seen the trailers, you know who's in this movie, so it won't be too much of a spoiler, but I felt the character of Adam Warlock was kind of wasted a little bit. He kind of zips in and out of the movie and doesn't really have as satisfying a conclusion as I would hoped he would, but maybe that's one of those things they're setting up for later in another project. I don't know. Now, it's kind of hard to talk about a James Gunn movie without discussing his musical choices, or whoever chooses the music for his movies. He somehow manages to pick songs that, in a lot of ways, some of them are pretty lame or bad, but manages to make them not suck. He's kind of like Tarantino like that. Speaking of Tarantino, can we stop with the Beastie Boys? Don't get me wrong. I love the B-Boys. But it just seems like they're in everything. It's like the Beastie Boys have become that damn song, Kill Bill song from the Battle Without Honor or whatever. That was like really cool for a while. But after about the fifth movie, you're like, okay, all right, dun, dun, dun. You know. That having been said, I loved Volume 3. Do I love it as much as Volume 1? Right now we're even, but eventually Volume 1 will probably win out because I tend to like the first movies the best. And it more than sort of makes up for Volume 2. Volume 2 has the sophomore curse, the same one that, like, say, Iron Man 2 had versus Iron Man. They're both good, but you can't compare them. And while we're on the subject of Volume 2, my favorite performance out of the entire movie has to go to Mantis. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the lady's name that plays her, but she's great. A far, far, far cry from the character that she is based on. No, don't say that, because then that starts a whole thing about, oh, the comics. We won't go there. Over the years, I've learned to separate the source material from the movies, except for the Eternals. Well, that pretty much wraps up my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If you'd like to see more movie reviews, let me know in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to do all the YouTube things like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon so you don't miss a single video. But you're probably like, yeah, why should I? Who are you anyway? Well, I'm just a guy who loves movies, and this has been my no BS movie review of, you guessed it, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.